Amazon has acquired a team of more than a dozen wireless internet experts from Facebook in an attempt to boost its multi-billion-dollar effort to launch thousands of satellites and offer broadband services in the US and abroad. The most important finance news today by MasterDigest. China's economic recovery loses some steam. Investors eye more policy easing. China's economy grew slightly slower than expected in the second quarter, weighed down by higher raw material costs and new outbreaks of COVID-19. Gross domestic product, GDP, expanded 7.9% in the April to June quarter from a year earlier, official data showed on Thursday, without expectations of an 8.1% increase in a survey of economists from Reuters. Growth slowed significantly from a record 18.3% expansion in the January to March period, when the year-on-year growth rate was heavily skewed by the COVID-induced decline in the first quarter of 2020. Average second quarter growth in 2020 and 2021 was 5.5%, compared to an average of 5% in the first quarter, according to the NBS. Activity data for June slowed from the previous month, but exceeded expectations. The UOB economist Wei Chen Ho in Singapore noted, "Our biggest concern is the uneven recovery that we have seen so far, and for China the recovery in domestic consumption is very important. Retail sales this month were quite strong, and that may allay some concerns." While the world's second largest economy recovered strongly from the COVID-19 crisis, driven by strong export demand and policy support, data release in recent months has suggested some loss of momentum. Higher raw material costs, supply shortages, and pollution controls are weighing on industrial activity, while small outbreaks of COVID-19 have limited consumer spending. An upsurge in new coronavirus variants and poor access to vaccines in developing countries threaten the global economic recovery. Finance ministers of the world's 20 largest economies warned. At the end of a gathering of finance ministers of the group of 20 nations, the US Treasury Secretary called for an acceleration of vaccine distribution worldwide. "We are very concerned about the Delta variant and other variants that could emerge and threaten recovery," Janet L. Yellen said. "We are a connected global economy. What happens in any part of the world affects all other countries. Many cities and countries have started to declare victory against the pandemic, easing restrictions and returning to normal life." But Ms. Yellen warned that the public health crisis was not over yet. Ms. Yellen also noted that many countries have been successful in financing the purchase of vaccines, but that the logistics of getting them into people's arms were falling short. Analysts at Capital Economics said this week that they plan to lower their economic growth outlook for the year to below 6%. Britain's financial watchdog said on Thursday it will become more assertive to get onto the front foot in weeding out bad firms and tackling an epidemic of online scams. The Financial Conduct Authority, FCA, has come under heavy criticism for its botched handling of London Capital and Finance, the investment fund whose collapse is forcing the government to use taxpayers' money to compensate thousands of investors. Former Finance Ministry official Nikhil Rathi, who became chief executive last year, has also revamped his top team. The watchdog will spend £120 million, that's $166 million, over 3 years to improve its data strategy to tackle fraud better, Rathi said at the launch of his first annual business plan. "We're going to test our powers to the limit," Rathi said. An £11 million digital marketing campaign will target the younger have-a-go consumers, snapping up crypto assets, he said. A focus on protecting vulnerable consumers could mean wealthy investors finding it harder to get compensation, and there will be a review of compensation criteria used by the Financial Services Compensation Scheme, Rathi said. It dovetails with a consultation on a new duty of care to call out fairly quickly firms that are not taking account of consumer needs. The FCA is facing calls to do what it can to help the City of London compete globally, after being largely severed from Europe since Brexit. Amazon has acquired a team of more than a dozen wireless internet experts from Facebook in an effort to boost its multi-billion-dollar effort to launch thousands of satellites and offer broadband services in the US and abroad. The employees moved from Facebook to Amazon in order to work on the company's plans to develop a network of low-orbit satellites. The move brings an end to Facebook's efforts to deliver internet connectivity to remote areas via its own satellites. The workers are in the Los Angeles area and included physicists, as well as optical, prototyping, mechanical, and software engineers who had previously worked on aeronautical systems and wireless networks, according to their LinkedIn pages. Amazon paid Facebook Facebook to seal the agreement. Although terms of the talent acquisition couldn't be learned, Amazon is in the midst of developing a low Earth orbit satellite constellation called Project Kuiper. It will launch half of these satellites by July 2026 and the rest by 2029. France's competition regulator fined Google €500 million Tuesday for failing to negotiate in good faith with media companies over the use of their content under EU copyright rules. Google had openly disregarded several injunctions issued in April 2020 by displaying snippets of articles on its Google News service. The authority ordered Google to present a remuneration offer for the current use of protected content to press publishers and agencies that have referred the case to the authority. Google is also required to provide the publishers and agencies with the necessary information for evaluating the offer. Google was given a 2-month period to execute the above orders. Failure to do so will result in penalty payments of €900,000 per day of delay. A Google spokesperson said that the company was very disappointed by the decision. Google insisted that they acted in good faith all throughout the process. The company had argued the fine undermines all their efforts to reach an agreement. The spokesperson further stated that the fine also ignores the reality of how news works on their platform. Google can appeal the penalty announcement. Google expands India cloud services with a new infrastructure push. Google is ramping up cloud infrastructure in India with a second cluster of data centers in and around capital New Delhi to meet increasing customer demands in a key growth market. Senior company executives said the Google Cloud region in Delhi and its outskirts is the US tech giant's second such piece of infrastructure in the country and the 10th in the Asia Pacific. The new infrastructure will help provide solutions for problems such as disaster recovery within India and ensure low latency for many state-run enterprises in and around Delhi, Kurian said. Google did not say how much it had invested to set up the new cloud facilities. The FBI has issued a serious Bitcoin and crypto alert. The FBI alert, first reported by Bleeping Computer, cautions users to be aware of attacks using technical support fraud, phone SIM swapping, and identity theft. Soaring Bitcoin and cryptocurrency prices this year, making crypto a more than $1 trillion market, have attracted a wave of cybercriminals. Bitcoin demanding ransomware attacks and social media-based crypto scams have become commonplace as a sudden influx of new users pour billions of dollars into digital assets. Now the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, has warned Bitcoin and cryptocurrency buyers, exchanges, and payment platforms over the growing threat of criminals looking to steal Bitcoin and crypto assets. Once the stolen cryptocurrency has been transferred to attacker-controlled accounts, it can be hard for law enforcement to recover it, the FBI warned. The FBI advised financial and crypto companies to check the origin of emails and keep an eye on recently created accounts, while those buying Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies were encouraged to use multi-factor authentication, meaning they must have access to at least 2 devices or accounts linked to the platform, avoid download requests, remote access applications, and any unofficial company communication channels. Dogecoin and Shiba Inu seem to have borne the brunt of the recent price crashes in the market. Reports have shown that the trading volume of the crypto market fell over 40% last month. Numbers taken from top exchanges saw the volume traded in June being significantly lower than that in May. Prices followed the lead of Bitcoin, which had finally fallen to the $28,000 threshold the same month, before then rising back up to reclaim over $30,000. Despite the recovery, the damage seems to have been done already. The market, which had been in a 2-month-long recovery, continued to suffer price dips. The number 2 coin, Ethereum, saw prices fall below $2,000. Following this, meme coins have not been left out of the carnage, it seems, even suffering the most significant losses as sell-offs continue in the market. It's easy to explain. Meme coins have so far outperformed most other coins in terms of short-term growth. It only makes sense then that more people would be selling off coins to take out the massive profits they've acquired. Also, the highly volatile nature of these coins makes them susceptible to wild movements. This is a good thing when it comes to the price of the coins going up, but also can go the other way when the price is going down. The price of meme coins going up in value also means that they get into overpriced territory quite quickly, and thus they tend to experience sharper and harsher price corrections in a shorter amount of time.